And moving on from the professionals to the AJHL, one of the biggest rivalries took place on Sunday.
It was a big one, too. Of course, you have the Lloydminster Bobcats and the Bonnyville Pontiacs. Two teams faced off at the Civic Center yesterday. Of course, these two met more than a week ago. Bobcats handing the Pontiacs a loss at home. And, of course, that was the last time they won. Mired in a 3-game losing streak. Can they snap it? Well, we'll show you the highlights. So, of course, making his first trip to the Civic Center as a visitor, Baker Hughes Bobcat, or former Baker Hughes Bobcat, Ryan Symington for the Pontiacs. Now, it was the visitors who jumped on the Cats early. Brinson Pashnuk cross-ice feed to his brother Steen, but Ryan Turness making the glove save. More pressure from the Yaks. Point shot will beat Turness, but not the iron. The game stayed scoreless through one period. Now, Bonnyville does find the back of the net in the second. Dylan McCombie on the power play. Some pretty moves, just mesmerizes the Cats, and that leaves Kyler Henn all alone in the corner. 1-0. Now we move to the third. Bobcats lose possession. The point shot will be tipped by Henn for his second of the game. That made it 2-0, and that would be your final. The Pontiacs get some revenge after losing on home ice to the Bobcats. As for those Cats, well, they only put up 15 shots in the losing effort, dropping 4 straight. They still don't have Taylor Mulder in the lineup due to a wrist injury, but you wonder if he was in that lineup, he would definitely help. All right, Bobcats will get some rest before they head to Sherwood Park for the AJHL Showcase. Meanwhile, the Pontiacs are back at home on Wednesday, taking on Fort McMurray. Now we'll head back to the Civic Center for some post-game reaction.
One guy being out of the lineup can't be evident or shed that much of light on what the outcome of the game is. We have to depend on 20 guys in there to win, and if Taylor Mulder's one of them, then great. If he's not one of them, then the other 20 guys got to find a way to come out and compete and get the job done.
We need to pick up our socks and start caring. If we're trying to do too much, I don't really want to see us not trying to do much at all.
It's a real testament for our young group, and we've got a very young team that is buying into the structure early, and what that allows them to do is play more efficient, and it simplifies the game and enables us to play back-to-back games in such a short turnaround.
As we showed you in the highlights, it was a special day for one local area player making an impact with the Bonnyville Pontiacs.
Well, I talked to him before this game, and during the interview here on the first intermission, I asked him what he thought about this rivalry with Bonnyville, and he had a big smirk all over his face, and he said, "I love rival games."
Definitely a lot different going across the red line and heading right when you come out the door instead of left. Yeah, it's definitely just a little bit different, but just happens when you move forward. You don't always get to play in the same barn, but it was good to come back.
The former AAA Bobcat has made a home for himself in Bonnyville and doing quite nicely, getting on the score sheet in his debut.
It was really good. Came out of the gates first game, I got my first goal, so that was really good to get that off the back. And then, yeah, it's just been really good. The teammates are great. Everyone's good. The organization's great. So it was a pretty easy adjustment to make.
The PWM Steelers were in action this weekend with a pair of back-to-back home games. The Steelers dropped their opener on Saturday against the Pack and were hoping to earn their first win of the regular season against the Sherwood Park Fury. Now, early in the first period, Fury would be on the power play. Ashton Gosling in net for the Steelers, making some big-time saves time and time again. She would keep this one scoreless, and that was big because moments later, the Fury in their own zone turn over the puck. Erin Baddock, the sister of Edmonton Oil King forward Brendan Baddock, shows how it's done. Steelers on the board with a minute left in the opening period. Now, Madison Cole will chip the puck by a pair of players before Brooke Weitzel corrals it. The initial shot is stopped, but Cole is right there to put home the rebound. That made it 2-0 Steelers. They would add another for a 3-1 final, earning their first win of the season. Definitely nice to see those guys having success at the major junior level. Of course, most of those I mentioned played for the Bantam AAA Heat at one point or another. Speaking of which, the Heat opened up their season over the weekend, but not the result they were looking for, a 4-2 loss to the PAC Saints. Now, Tanner Barnes and Easton Haygarth were the goal scorers for the Heat. They'll be looking for their first win on home ice next Saturday against Edmonton CAC. Now to college soccer, the Rustlers men remain unbeaten, grabbing 4 of a possible 6 points with a win on Saturday and a 1-1 draw on Sunday. On the women's side, the Rustlers are still looking for their first win, suffering a tough loss to the nationally ranked Medicine Hat Rattlers 4-0. Now, the Rustlers will be back on the pitch for their final home games this weekend. And that is all the time we have in sports. We'll have more Newcap news and weather for you after the break.